friends, so welcome to my channel. So this video today I'm going to be talking about edging. So recently I found a different solution for edging using repurposed fence posts. So I'm a really big fan of reusing and reusing what you have and not trying to keep as much as you can out of the landfill. So what I did is that we had a fence that a dilapidated fence that kind of fell down in a windstorm. I've been slowly taking it down, and I had left the fence posts because they are the sturdier posts made out of treated wood, and I was using them kind of just as for my climbing plants. And at some point I decided, I got to get those down. What should I do with them? They're too heavy to kind of throw in the trash. They're too big for that. And I had no idea what to do with them. And it came to me that maybe I should use them for edging. So I had kind of laid down the posts along one bed just temporarily to see how they would look. And I actually was happy with the look. So what I did is I actually hired a couple people to remove the posts because, physically I wasn't able to do that, and I don't have the right tools to like cut wood and things like that. So what they did is they removed the posts from the ground, and then they cut them to size to edge 2 of my garden beds. So I basically had enough to complete 2 garden beds, and one of them was my shrub border along my retaining wall, which was actually quite desperately needed edging. And of course, if you have done manual edging, you know what a time-consuming chore that is, how it can take up a lot of time, and it's like a lot of physical effort. So what these gentlemen did is they cut a few fence posts to size and then edged my shrub border. And what I did then was sheet mulched it with cardboard and added mulch. So the shrub border is looking really nice, probably nice it's gonna look for a while. So I'll show you that. And then I also had enough fence posts to kind of continue on my hydrangea lane side where I have some hydrangeas. So I got them to use up all the fence posts that I had for that purpose as well. So at some point our fence is going to be replaced, but I figure, why not use what you have? And it looks pretty good. So let me show you. So first let me show you the before. So I'll insert some pictures here of what these borders looked like without any edging. So let me show you what we were working with. So this is basically the fence, and you can see in here we have posts. So these fence posts are very sturdy. That is treated wood, so it lasts a lot longer. And you can see the boards are quite weathered, and those are not treated, so they don't last nearly as long. And as you can see, this fence is kind of on its last legs. So one that had already come down in a windstorm was over on this side here. So what we did was we took down the fence posts, and you can see, there's one that's half of it is left there, but they were kind of cut down to size, and I thought we would repurpose those and use them for edging my garden beds. So let me show you the first garden bed here that we had done. So here I have a hydrangea kind of lane here with lots of hydrangeas, and I got the gentleman to kind of dig in these fence posts as an edge. So you can see that they kind of dug them in and placed them with a string line so it's nice and straight. It should be equally distant from the sidewalk, and it goes all the way to the back edge to the sidewalk where it's cut to meet that kind of angle there. So I wasn't able to do this myself because I don't have the kind of strength to kind of lift these and cut them. I don't have the tools, but I did get a couple gentlemen to do that for me, and you can see it's cut at an angle there so it's nice and flush. And I think that edging is going to work really well to kind of separate the grass. And I have a lot of moss that grows in this garden bed. So you can see that actually there's still some moss in there, but I think it's going to be a lot easier for the lawnmower as well to kind of get along that edge. And it's looking a lot better. And I didn't do the kind of edge here around the corner because I did want to kind of have a curve there. So I have to find another solution for that, which I'm debating using black plastic, but haven't decided 100% yet. So that is a big improvement for edging of this garden bed. All right, and let me show you the next garden bed, which is the shrub border along my retaining wall, which I also had edged. And at first it was, looking pretty bad without edging. And edging is quite a laborious task, so if I can avoid it, I will. Also, I had it sheet mulched and also added mulch on top, so it's looking really good, I should say. And let me show you that now. And I just want to mention that these two garden beds that I'm using the treated fence posts for, there's no edibles in them. So I'm not too worried about kind of any creosote, I think it's called, which is like the chemicals that they use to treat the wood to make it last. So the wood is going to last, it's not going to rot out, and the chemicals that they use to treat that, I'm not concerned about, because all of the plants that I have in these garden beds, none of them are edibles. I'm not planning on putting any edibles in those garden beds. All right, so here you can see my shrub border along this retaining wall, and it's been nicely edged with the fence posts. And this is kind of a slope that comes down, so it was a little bit tricky for them to get it exactly right. So you can see that I had them put an edge along this garden bed as well, just because water does wash in, and sometimes it could wash away some of the soil here, and that kind of puts a barrier here, so it kind of adds a little extra stop here for all the water runoff. And you can see here my shrub border is looking really nice with it fully mulched, and I did sheet mulch to help prevent weeds, so this is probably as good as it's gonna look, at least until the hydrangeas are in bloom. But I'm very happy with it. So you can see that they did cut the edges really nicely, so they sit flush, so hopefully I won't have too many weeds in between. And yeah, they basically just hammered them in and used a saw to cut the wood, and that's pretty much it. They did dig down a bit to sink them a little bit, but I did want them to kind of stay have a little bit of height to keep out the encroaching grass. So I think that'll make edging this garden bed a lot more simpler. We're weeding it. I think it'll keep the grass out, and it's looking quite nice. And I did debate whether I should put more plants in this garden bed, but sometimes I think less is more. So this shrub border, I think I'm gonna leave it as is. So we have the symmetry with the panicle hydrangeas on kind of both ends, the two boxwoods, and then the centerpiece, which is the Arctic Fire red twig dogwood. And I also have some salix kind of willow bushes on both sides as well. And then this is an azalea that I got for free. Somebody was going to trash it, so I rescued it. It has beautiful fuchsia blooms when it's in bloom. So yeah, I'm glad I could rescue that one as well. And the fence boards that I showed you earlier, I did use them in this garden bed, and they're not as good as edging because they're not treated, so they don't really last as long. They're much more flimsy. So here you can see that I used 3 boards here, and you can see that they are not treated. They're much thinner, so they're good in a pinch, but not the best for kind of a long-term solution. So the edging is looking really nice and tidy there. I'm very happy with it. It'll be a lot less work for me. And I wanted to show you some of the other edging that I have in the garden, just to contrast and compare. So of course, I think everybody kind of starts out with the black plastic edging, which is very inexpensive and comes in handy in a pinch. So I do have that black plastic edging in my garden. I also have bricks, and I have steel or metal. So let me show you all of those. So in these circular garden beds here, like to make a curve, I used this black plastic in order to make these garden beds. And the black plastic is good because it is something that's flexible, so you can make different shapes. And that's certainly not something I wouldn't be able to make a circle with my wooden fence posts. And it works in a pinch, but you can see it's kind of sinking down a little bit. It doesn't look the best, but it's doing its job for now. But I probably need to lift this and put that in again. And you can see the grass does kind of grow over it, so it's not the best. It's kind of a beginner's type of edging, I would say. On this garden bed, I have a natural edge. You can't really tell because I have so many plants growing here, but this edge here is a natural edge, so it was just like cut out with an edger, and you can see it's been a while since I've done the edging there, but because the plants are in bloom, you can't really notice. So I think that looks okay. I don't really worry about the crisp edge there. It looks very natural. So another type of edging I have in my garden is brick. So brick is something that I happen to have on hand. So I decided when I first made my garden bed, in the back here was my first one behind under these fruit trees, and we happen to have a bunch of this extra brick. So I laid down the brick, and that was what I used for my first garden bed edging. And you can see that, you know, it's just laid down. I don't have it mortared in or anything like that, so it's very flexible. I can move it and change it if I need to. So, you know, you do see like where there is some grass growing in between. You could probably mortar it if you wanted to, and that would prevent that, but I don't want something so permanent, so I don't mind. And you can see it's not perfect, but I'm fine with that. And you can see all that brick along the back there, and I also have it in the long border. Now at some point, you know, the brick wasn't doing what I needed it to do. So for example, this garden bed is on a slope, and at the back I was getting a lot of washout of soil and mulch. So I ordered this metal edging from Amazon, which I do have a video on, but you can see that is quite a bit taller edging, and I kind of dug it in as far as I could. And that edging helps to kind of keep everything from washing out the back when it rains. So it's like probably more aesthetically pleasing than the black plastic, and it's easy to kind of bend as well. So you can make curves with this, which is an advantage. So the disadvantage with bricks is that it's harder to make curves, and the advantage with the black plastic and the, you know, the metal edging is that it can curve relatively easily. Let's see, the other edging, so in these two garden beds here, I have natural edging as well, and you can see that that probably needs a little bit more maintenance. You have to get in there and kind of re-edge those and just make them nice and crisp. Another edging I have is the wooden garden bed kind of box. So what I have is a box here made out of wood, and my brother-in-law had made that for this area as a vegetable patch. And then when the bottom was starting to rot out, what I did is I just flipped it. So when I flipped it over to make this a garden bed, to extend the garden bed basically, double its size, the bottom part that was rotting out became the top. So you can see the top is kind of worse for wear, but underneath it is pretty solid. So that was a bed that I made using sheet mulching. So once I flipped that wooden bed over, it was all grass in here. I put compost and put cardboard in, thick layer of cardboard to cover the grass, and then compost, and you can see that it's now planted, and now it's just another garden bed. I have laid out this black edging because I'm trying to decide if I want to use that, because I'm out of the fence posts now for now. So eventually this fence is coming down, so I'll have more fence posts, so I probably will edge along here as well with the fence posts, but for now I'm just trying to decide if I want to use that black plastic in the meantime as well. But anyways, that's all the different edging we have in the garden right now, and certainly that's going to make my life a lot easier to have those fence posts as edging. So thank you so much for joining me in the garden as I explained the different types of edging I have in my garden. It is a bit of a mishmash, so you know, with the metal, with the black plastic, with the brick, and now with the fence posts, there's a big variety of edging that you can use, and my goal is to kind of make it as lower maintenance if possible. So I think that transition over to the fence post is a good one. And I'll have to think about what I want to do with curved garden beds, but I probably will stick with metal edging. And you know, I really do like the look of the bricks as well, so might keep them all. But anyways, thanks for joining me, and I hope you have a great day. Enjoy your time in the garden if you can get in your garden, and hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye now.